One. And we are live. Say hello, world.
Hello.
All right. We're in our late 60s, and for those who don't know us, we're Terry and Robin Coker, and I just felt compelled as we're approaching the election, just a few weeks away, to say a few things to folks out there. Yes, we are Democrats, and I'd like to think we could control the weather. I haven't quite figured that one out yet. I did blow off some steam. You might say it was a pretty good storm not that long ago.
No comment.
And this is our pooch. Oh, he's turning his back.
Oh.
He's there. Say hi, world. Okay, this is political, and this is scary because we've never done this before. We never
Live stream.
Yeah, live stream. We've never, I don't know what's the word, opened up about our views. And as you can see, I have a Kamala shirt, and I'm very proud to be wearing that. But I think we're all scared for one reason or another. Whether we're Republicans, whether we're Democrats, whether we support Trump or whether we support Kamala Harris. I think that everybody's a little bit scared these days. We're scared because it seems to us that if we're not already in it, we're fast approaching another dark age. You know, our country, the forefathers of our country, from what I understand, from what I have studied, were creating for us a new nation, as we know. And the construct for this was all about liberty. Freedom, individual. Well, we didn't quite get as far as individual rights because people like me, a woman, we were chattel. We didn't have any claim to voting. We didn't even really have any claim to real estate or anything like that. So, and then of course, slavery. But it was considered the Age of Enlightenment, and at least these men were trying to create something very special and unique. It's called the American Experiment. And I think they knew it would be a work in progress. And that, you know, it took quite some time before we were able to abolish slavery. And even when we did that, you know, you had the era of Jim Crow and all of that. But still, democracy was there. The idea that of having a nation that was all about equality, we the people. And somehow or another, it seems like that's gotten a little bit lost. And like I said, I blew off steam. I mean, I had a potty mouth. I'm 67 years old, mother of two, and I just, I kind of blew. I'm not proud of myself for that, losing my temper like that. But we are at the precipice of having a nation that sees and recognizes that we all have a special claim to freedom. whether we're a woman or a man, a white individual, a brown, black, polka dot, whether we have a religion that we exercise routinely or sporadically or not at all, we are all representatives of freedom, all of us. And if our country is going to be based on exclusion and not recognizing individual rights, and if it's going to be based on hatred and fear, we're not going to get anywhere except for we're going to just dismantle the works. Everything that makes this country something worth holding on to, something to pass on to our children, our grandchildren, or if we're childless cat ladies, whatever. You know, I mean, we all have a claim in this. And
the problem as I see it is that both sides there are people out there that are willing to believe whatever lie that is told to them, and I know that there are Democrats that stretch the truth too, but when you have people saying that the government can control the weather, when you have people saying that the government is coming to take away your property in West Virginia for $750, and saying that there are militia out in North Carolina trying to hunt down FEMA workers because of what they've heard. Then you have the dogs and cats being eaten by Haitian immigrants, legal immigrants. And when Senator Vance says, well, if we have to make up stories, that tells you what it is, along with complaining about being fact-checked. Mm-hmm. When you can't be fact-checked, then you must not have a good position to defend. When you want to just say whatever, you're allowed to do that, but you're not allowed to be immune from the consequences of those words. And the other thing that I'm thinking is that the Supreme Court has been, for the last few years, especially since Donald Trump was in office, of ignoring precedent on legal cases that have been adjudicated. In the case of Roe versus Wade, that was almost 50 years on the books. They've dropped the whole Chevron defense that's been found for decades, and it just seems like, especially with the immunity case, that they're just looking at one person, not a precedent that would apply really to everybody, because I don't see them okaying Joe Biden's acts. They always turn him down when he tries to get the student loan payments through, the cancellation of student loans. The Supreme Court will step up and say, no, you can't do that. Well, that's an official act, so he should be immune. He should be allowed to do that then, shouldn't he?
I think so. Of course,
Anyway.
you're preaching to the choir here, but there's a lot that we want to talk about. At least I do. A lot that I want to purge, because it's been building up for several years. And, what I don't get is whatever happened to everybody standing together, for the most part, after the there we are again. Okay, January 6th happened. It was awful. It was horrible. We all agreed that it was awful.
We all saw it.
We all saw it. It was real. It was not a picnic. It was not a...
Normal tourist activity.
No, it was not. It was scary. It was bloody. And, you know, putting what do they call those? Hanging...
A noose?
No, this is whole scaffolding for that. Maybe that's what it's called. But anyway, because they wanted to hang Mike Pence, the vice president, because they wanted to hang Nancy Pelosi. This is our country we're talking about. And for all of you people out there that consider yourself proud Americans, and you strongly back the USA and everything that it stands for, how is it that all of a sudden the nominee for the Republican Party and his running mate cannot answer the fundamental question, was this a stolen election?
2020.
And we all know it was not a stolen election.
Donald Trump lost.
Donald Trump lost. Be a big boy, Donald. Okay? But he wasn't raised to lose. You know, I think everything, the psychology of Donald Trump, not that I'm a psychiatrist or anything like that, but from what I've surmised and read and all of that stuff, is that he has a very fragile ego, and he overcompensates for that very fragile ego by bluster, by putting down other people before anybody can put him down, and getting even with anybody that would dare to put him down. His father taught him all about being a success. Success was a very important thing in their life, and I think in that family's life, in the Trump family. And, you know, I'm just going to hit on this a little bit here, but I think the psychology is if you're raised in an environment where you're not really nurtured, you're not allowed to make mistakes, it's all about, you know, just win at any cost, because losing makes you a failure. Because, you know, and you can't lose. You just can't lose. And so, you know, that was ingrained in Donald Trump. And this says invite. So, okay. And so that's why he has a real hard time with loss. And he also insults other people when they don't succeed on the basis of what he considers success. To me, success is when you recognize that, you know, your abilities as well as, you know, the things you need to work on in life. And we've all screwed up. We've all made mistakes. But for some reason, this is a man that cannot admit that he, you know, is fallible, that he is human, that he makes mistakes. And it's at a cost not only to his own psyche, but it's a cost to our nation. It's at a cost to our nation. We are just a few weeks away from deciding this. It's a virtual tie. And even if our candidate wins, it's not going to just be like, oh yeah, let's just all have a lovely peacenik, you know, gathering. Yeah, if Kamala and Waltz win, it doesn't mean that it's all finished, that we can all sit back and just relax. It's still going to be tense. Feelings are so heightened on both sides. And if you ever wondered about things like what started the Civil War, you know, obviously it was about slavery, pro and against, and the Republican Party was against, and the Democratic Party was for, the party that we support, but we don't support that. Because guess what? People change and parties change over time. There's an evolution that takes place. Everything changes in life. God, I sound like I'm a philosopher now. But it's true. I mean, some things, yeah, kind of stay the same, but no, I'm going to even take that back. There's always some small variance of change in our life. And if you're like me on the spectrum of being autistic, that's really hard. Change is really hard. And I think that for a lot of people, the idea of maybe our nation becoming browner, is scary for a lot of people. And so, if they don't like that, it makes them uncomfortable. It's not what they grew up with. And so, they fight it. Some people fight it because they don't like that kind of change. That kind of thing never affected me. I was lucky as a kid growing up. We vacationed in Mexico, spent a lot of time in Mexico as a child. And what I learned is that people are people everywhere. They're good and maybe they're not so good. But for the most part, generally speaking, I think most people are good. And I think we've forgotten that in this campaign. It's very dark. The Trump Vance campaign is a very dark one. It's about casting a shadow, more than a shadow of the doubt, but it's about, fear mongering, about anything you can think of, whether it's women's rights, whether it's, rights.
Immigration.
Yeah, immigration. I mean, LGBTQ, you name it. It all goes back again to what was the familiar growing up. And if that wasn't something that you were used to, you're going to be alienated perhaps by that. But if you grew up in a more broader context where you had friends that were gay, you had friends that were Hispanic or black, it helps tremendously. It helps tremendously to be able to be not so afraid at all. Just to know that, there are, people that are really trying to do their best, and some people that for whatever reason, whether you want to get into the nature-nurture situation, they struggle, and they struggle either inwardly. Well, everybody struggles inwardly, but I mean, they take it personally what it is, and they get very depressed, or they get the opposite. They take it outward, and they get very hostile. And I just see this campaign of Trump as being a very hostile one, and it's just so scary. It's so scary because, when you have on a daily basis rallies that, I listen to his rallies. And it's all about complaining about this person and that person and the other person and getting even with them. He's talking about using the Department of Justice to go after people that he perceives as being his enemies or people that he just doesn't think deserve to have a say in this society.
Shutting down news stations based on their reporting on him.
Yes.
It's his ego that can't take any kind of criticism.
No. And I get that. Nobody likes to be criticized. I understand that. I have a learning disability, and when I was growing up in the school system, I got a lot of teasing. And teachers didn't fully even understand back then about dyslexia, because that's what I have is I'm dyslexic. And, I can now understand that, they just weren't informed. I wasn't even all that informed. I didn't know what was going on. I just knew that I didn't fit in, and I knew what it felt like to be the other. And I think that's the other thing too, is it's not just about having friends that are of color or LGBTQ, etc. It's also if you lived a life where, where somebody in your family is disabled, physically or with a learning disability to any degree, right? Generally, it makes you an empathetic person. Generally, because you learn to be a little bit more tolerant.
Put yourself in the other person's place.
Exactly, and there's just not that much of that going on, and there hasn't ever since his campaign, took off as he went down.
2015.
Yeah, exactly. Going down that escalator, that golden escalator. And I guess, like I said, we're at a precipice. This is scary. I want to be able to know, because I am 60. We're seeing friends of ours pass away that are younger than us or around our age or older. We are at an age, of course, well, I shouldn't say of course, because there's some people our age that still have their parents, and God bless them for that. I miss mine terribly, and I think they would be completely shattered by what's going on. Completely shattered. Our parents, that generation that they call the greatest generation, they were about sacrifice.
For the greater good.
For the greater good. And they weren't perfect people, just like we're not perfect people, but they wanted what was best for this country. They wanted to build this country up, and they fought, if it wasn't World War II, my father was a veteran of World War II and served in the Pacific Theater in the Navy as a CB. And Terry's dad served
in the Air Force during Korea and Vietnam.
And we did the honor flight with my dad, and unfortunately we weren't able to do that with Terry's dad. He passed away before we had a chance for him to be eligible for them to recognize. Was it the Korean War or was
Korean
it? Yeah, the Korean.
vets.
Yeah, but my dad was a Democrat. Terry's dad was a Republican.
But neither would have supported Trump.
No.
With his views on the military, with his views on always looking out for himself rather than what he's supposed to look out for. So
when I think about all of these rumors and stories about Haitians eating people's pets, for example, come on, that's already been settled. They fact check that with the actual officials in the city.
Republican mayor,
Yeah.
city manager, the Republican governor of Ohio, all say that it's not occurring and that the Haitians are there legally. So,
and they were asked to come. They were asked to be a part of bettering the economy in that area, and that's exactly what they have done. And I can't account for every Haitian out there any more than I can account for every white, middle-aged person in America. But, it's been settled, but not in Trump's mind, And the whole idea of insulting, not just insulting, but painting them this way, just like he did in the very beginning of his, in 2016 when he talked about
Mexican rapists.
Yes, come on. Like I said, going back to my childhood, I only have the best experiences with Latinos. I only wish I still remember. But, my experience was they're just like us. They're just like us. They want to be treated with respect. They want to have a job that makes them feel like they can support their families, and they care about their families. And again, they're not perfect people. We're not perfect. None of us are perfect people. In order to create a more perfect union, we haven't gotten there yet. And why haven't we gotten there? Because we're not perfect. We're not perfect. We make mistakes, but we're supposed to be there for each other and lift each other up and treat each other with respect. Do you honestly think that, say, for example, a person that recognizes and identifies as gay or trans or any of that, that they are like, oh my gosh, this is what I want to do. Won't this be fun? Because I really love it when people insult me. I love it when people say I can't get a wedding cake or I can't shop at Hobby Lobby or whatever. Do you think that's what they wanted? Think about it. Would you volunteer and sign up to be ridiculed? Think about it. They're human. They're human beings. They have aspirations. They have friends. They have partners, or maybe they're single. But the primary thing is they are human. And you can go into the whole, I wonder what turned them that way. Or, was it something in the water? or was it bad, too strong of a mother or father figure in their life or whatever? I can tell you this much. Starting with in my childhood, the first gay person I ever knew in my childhood was an identical twin. Identical twin. He was probably about 10 years older than me. And he was raised the same way as his brother because they were identical. So the same kind of nurturing or lack of nurturing or whatever was in that house that they were both raised in. One came out gay and one came out straight. Okay? We're all different. We're all different. And that's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing. Embrace what's different about you. Because I really feel in my heart of hearts, I'm getting emotional here, but God made us unique. He didn't want to make carbon copy human beings. He didn't want to make carbon copy human beings. He wanted each of us to stand out in our own way, to have our own gifts and our own challenges that we might have to face, that would build us up, that would help us to create some empathy, some understanding.
The United States is like a quilt. My dad's mom was into making quilts. We have several of what she made and passed down to us. They're beautiful things, but they're made up of dozens of different pieces of material, and they're formed into patterns, some of them. Some of them are just pieced together, and that's the way the United States is, because you've got all 50 states, and then all of the like Puerto Rico and Guam and American Samoa, all of the protectorates or whatever term you want to put on them. They're all different. They all have their various resources, They all have different people that live there, and everybody's different. And so when they come together like a quilt, they make a wonderful, beautiful nation. And that's what I don't feel that Trump and Vance and the MAGA people are looking for. They're looking for a homogeneous white Christian nation, which actually it never was a nation of Christians. They were deists
Yes.
and believed in a God, but
That's why they put in the Constitution the separation of church and state.
so I just don't understand why. Well, I do understand why the MAGA candidate, Trump and Vance, are demonizing minorities. They want to instill fear in the public, and
It's working.
they
Half the nation.
want to win. But the closer we get to the election, the more they're going to pull that out. But it's just like in 2020 when they said there were caravans of people coming up through Central and South America coming to the States. There were no caravans. The crime rate
Oh, and they
among
were, what was it? They had leprosy.
leprosy, yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah, we got to shut down the border because it's going to be filled with leprosy.
Anybody out there remember their childhood? Was anybody, it's something that sticks with us no matter how old we get. It's one of those things that it sticks with us. The name calling. The name calling. And we might have been better equipped than others to handle it, but it still hurt. Especially when somebody, my maiden name is Hinkle, and so I was called Hinkleitis every day. And I do know what it must feel like for these Haitians or anybody that's being discriminated against. It's hurtful. It's hurtful. It's demeaning. It robs you of your self-worth. And it's really hard to get it back. It's really hard to get it back. I am just tired of it. Aren't we all so tired of it? Don't you think, here we are, 2024. I thought, I'm so naive. I thought these years would be the years that we would be more attaining
Utopia? Like
at least
the Star Trek?
starting to realize more, starting to see and realize that whole perfect union thing. But we can't be a more perfect union if we can't treat each other with respect, with kindness, with empathy. And if you are a Christian, isn't that what you're taught? I thought Jesus was all about that and not judging others for anything. I also thought that he was about loving strangers, caring for strangers. Isn't that what the whole Good Samaritan story was about? Wasn't that the moral there? And so I guess it's okay if we can paint them as being foul and dirty and dangerous and all that. Then it's okay, right? It's okay. Yeah, I'm getting worked up and my husband's patting me. But if you ever were bullied, it sticks with you for a lifetime. For 67 years. And that's why I care about this nation. That's why I care about my neighbors. I care about my husband, my kids, their partners, their husbands, wives, friends. I care about our dog Bo, who can't handle emotional situations and has run off. But honestly, you've got to be thinking here, okay, she's really emotional, but yeah, I'm emotional for a reason. I'm tired of the name calling and the dehumanization of fellow citizens and even those that have come in illegally. I don't like it any more than maybe you do. I want people to go through the proper channels. I understand. I can understand wanting, can't even support a family because of droughts and deforestation and different things that are going on in the world. And they're, trying to seek out a better life, and they're desperate. They're desperate. And when Trump and oh God, Miller, and when he was president, when he separated all those babies, all those kids from their family, from their mommies, put them in cages. They were cages. You need to check out the videos if you haven't already of these poor little children. If you're a parent, or even if you can remember when you were really little, maybe the first time that you were lost as a little one, and how scary that was, even if it only lasted for 5 minutes, and you're searching for your mommy. You're searching for her hand, and she's not there. And that 5 minutes is like an eternity. And can you imagine, these kids are permanently separated, permanently. And you might say, well, it serves them all right because they didn't come in the country the way they should have come into the country, etc., etc. Are you a Christian? Or even just a decent person? Think about it. Is that what we do to our babies, to our kids? Separate them from their families? The only security that they have? And then there's the language barrier on top of that. They say that these kids probably will never be reunited with their families. Another example of the cruelty.
That was always the point with that program, was the cruelty to dissuade people from coming in illegally. And, I look at it, is it wrong to do that, come in illegally? Yeah. But I also look at it like, if I were in their place, what would I do to protect my family? Mm-hmm. Would I make that long journey, that dangerous journey, if there was a chance of helping my family survive and not be assimilated into the gangs and killed if they don't? Absolutely, without a thought, without a second thought.
Oh, and guess who's supplying those guns to those gangs in Mexico?
They're coming from the States, people.
They're coming from the States.
Are there some that come back in? Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But the majority it's a one-way traffic from north to south. So, anyway.
It's very complex, and yet it's very simple, too. There are good and bad people that are criminals and people that are trying to live good, decent lives, right? And I just feel that we've got to get past all of this suspicion and paranoia. People are just so damn paranoid anymore. The environment is nothing like what it was prior to Trump. Think about it. How many of you have lost, as far as, not like passed away lost, but family members and close friends over politics? I have. My husband has. And I don't think we're alone here. He stirred something up, and it's still there. He's still doing it. And you can pretend or just, I don't know, just justify it somehow in your mind that in this case it's all right. That character, doesn't count. Didn't we raise our kids with that within the schools? Character counts. I think everybody should revisit those pillars and ask themselves, are we living up to that? What we taught our kids and the golden rule. Do unto others. So we've got to stop this. I'm not saying that we all have to, be hippies and live in a commune or anything like that. I don't want to do that. I'm a very private person, and you might think otherwise because of this video. This is scary, and I'm going to be like shaking when I turn this off and think, oh, holy cow, what did I just do? But
America is a better place than what Trump and Vance are portraying us as. We are the shining example on the hill for the world. It's when you constantly talk down about it, when you constantly denigrate the country, and it's the worst ever. It's not serving any purpose other than to get themselves elected to the presidency. And in my opinion, the only reason that he is running for president again is to protect himself from all these
lawsuits.
Not just the lawsuits, but the actual charges that have been brought against him.
Yeah.
The indictments. That's it. He's trying to get that New York case moved to federal court, because if he does win, he can just have the Justice Department dismiss the charges, and that would be that. And so, it's nothing.
What a horrible decision, that whole granting full immunity.
Yeah, that was bad.
Oh, MG. Everybody needs to be held accountable. Rule of law. Our nation was based on that, by the way. Rule of law. No exceptions.
Anyway.
But I'm going to open this up to anybody else out there that has anything to say. So here we go. Let's see.
I don't know.
Do I tap that?
I don't know how to do that.
You do? I don't know. It says, bring them on video. See, we've never done this before. Bring them on video.
I don't know what that
Oh,
is.
well, let's see if we can figure it out here. There's something here. Okay. It says invite. Ask Chris to join. Okay. Send an invite. Okay, I don't understand that. So, what is that saying right there?
Bring them on video.
Okay.
I don't know why it's green. I suppose you touch that. Send invite to Andrew. Okay, unable to add guest.
I wonder why that is.
I don't know.
It says that we can't add a guest.
So
we're not trying to be rude. It's just that we are old farts. We don't know how to do this. We've never done this before. Darn essay. I'm staring into the abyss of my phone, which I refer to as my oracle, by the way. Okay, so...
well, we can't add guests, so that's that.
Yeah, I don't quite understand that feature. Okay, so I guess in conclusion, like E.T. said, be good. Try to be good. Try to be the best person you can be. Try to forgive people for whatever flaws they might have. Try to be a little bit, more understanding. Look at yourself Ask yourself, am I really good with this? Am I really good with that? Why would I expect other people to be? You know, we're an amazing species, human beings. We have so many, the spectrum of all the things that we can do and create, whether it's cooking or crafting or great poetry or musicianship or civil service or, what was I say, armed forces, anything that we can do, volunteering just at a food kitchen, planting trees or whatever. I mean, we can all be better people, and we need to recognize that, I feel we need to recognize that there's room for growth in all of us. There's room for growth in me. I lose my cool far too often. Part of that is my learning disability. I get frustrated at times, confronting certain situations, and with being on the autism spectrum too. I've been working at this for a long time, and I've made a lot of headway, but still, I fall short from time to time. But, I think basically most of us are good, caring people. But we need to exercise that all the more in periods of time in which we're being tested. Because I do believe that we're being tested. Just how forgiving, how generous, how welcoming, how tolerant, how, enlightened. All the more reason to continue to work at it. To continue to work at it and not be adversarial. We need to be allies to each other. We are, after all Americans here. Okay, yeah, you might say maybe not all of us officially, but as a rule. And but at a basier level, we're all human beings. And my experience going back to, being in Mexico and stuff is that the adults were hardworking, like my parents, and they loved their kids, and they disciplined them when they were naughty, and they praised them when they were good, and we shared Christmases together, and cultures, and, they're just people. They're just people. And that's all that we are. We're human beings, and we need to treat each other humanely. It's time, don't you think? And so I really wanted to bring people on here that are watching. I've been seeing your names, and I do appreciate you
Sticking with us.
yeah, sticking with us as we ramble. Well, I ramble.
I have.
You're more succinct. You talk pretty. You talk big words because you're
right.
poli-sci.
I have things I want to pass on right before we close.
Okay.
What I'm concerned about is the upcoming election, and I want everybody to vote. Now, as a former Democratic county chair here in Humboldt County, my position was I want everybody to be involved in the process, because when everybody gets involved, Democrats, Republicans, Independents, Green Party, whatever you are, then we become a more informed and a better operating country where our needs will ultimately be met. But what I would suggest is that don't listen to the whatever station you get your news from, whatever medium you get your news from, whether it's Fox or Newsmax or MSNBC, CNN, whatever. Do the research for yourself. Everybody pretty much has a cell phone. that can get on the internet and look at the positions of the candidates, the Harris Walls and the Trump Vance. See what they're saying, see what their vision is for the United States, see where they are talking about where we are and what they see that people need. And that should guide your decision on who you're going to vote for, because it doesn't matter that you're just one person. One person can make a difference. I know in Iowa, in the congressional race, I believe one of the districts was won by 6 votes. 6 votes.
Wow.
So if 4 people had changed their votes from the winner to the loser, that would have changed. So that would be just 4 votes. So get the actual information, look up Project 2025, and find out what they want to do with everything that's concerned. And I can't stress enough that when Donald Trump says he doesn't know anything about the Project 2025, that is not the truth, because his former people are all over it. J.D. Vance wrote a prologue to a book that one of the architects of Project 2025, so they know about it. They know what's in there, and it's a fairly dystopian view of what they want to do. With all the agencies, get rid of this agency, cut back that. So get involved, get informed, and then go vote.
And you can do it. It can seem overwhelming, and maybe some of the verbiage, the words that you would read or hear might be go over your head. But to do the exercise of looking things up and getting, so that you can understand what this stuff is about. Because truly, a lot of times I criticize when I listen to the news, pundits and anchors that I'm thinking, wow, if I didn't have my husband who was a poli-sci major in college, and my parents were involved in politics too, that helped as well. But if I didn't have that, I'd be lost when it comes to a lot of this. And I think we don't want information to be dumbed down in the media. We don't want to feel that that's what they're doing. But at the same time, we'd like to understand a little bit more about what does that mean, when they say this. What is jury rigging? How does that impact voting? That kind of thing. So, it does behoove us to do the research and do a little homework. Nobody likes homework. I never liked homework, except for certain projects that I might have enjoyed doing. But look at this as something fun. I mean, you have a chance to take part in a historic election.
Don't listen and base whether you're going to vote or not on the polls, because polls vary from one day to the next based on who they call and who responds. So don't get discouraged if your person seems down. Just go ahead and vote for them anyway. Every vote counts.
It does.
Please go vote.
All right.
November the 5th is the last day to vote.
And hasn't in Iowa early voting already?
Early voting starts on the 16th or 17th, so
Wow.
I believe it's Friday
Wow.
or Thursday.
Wow.
I can't remember.
We can do this, people. Let's do this, okay? Let's do this together. All right. Signing off. Bye.